Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, San Francisco, the once beautiful city, now swamped with massive problems, crimes and drugs and homelessness. But is there a possible solution to help save the lives in the city by the Bay? Shutdown, shutdown. Republicans and Democrats in Washington trying to avoid a government shutdown with only days to go before the deadline. Can they reach a deal? They were among the first people in the world to embrace Christianity. Now, Armenians are facing the possibility of ethnic cleansing and how what you eat can affect how you feel. We'll look at the impact of food and your diet on the state of your emotions. All those stories and more are ahead today on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Let's begin this half hour in California, where the city by the Bay has become a city in crisis. San Francisco is overrun with drugs, crime, and homelessness. Billions of dollars are being spent to find a solution, but nothing has worked so far. A group called City Team is taking a different approach. They're working to save San Francisco one life at a time. CBN's Brody Carter has our report.
From here, San Francisco's a postcard city. But nonprofits and former city leaders tell me they're fighting multiple crises, including homelessness and fentanyl. In fact, a recent report shows that California accounts for 1/3 of all homeless people in the United States.
People just are free to destroy their lives out in the open.
Methadone, crack, meth. I see it 7 days a week.
Scenes of addiction, crime, and homelessness have overtaken much of San Francisco. At one time, a city considered an American destination.
We're under the interstate, where people's prized possessions litter the streets. Some people have lived here for more than 10 years. Before coming on this trip, many people are asking me, is it really that bad? I guess it depends on where you look.
Get water from the fire hydrant, you know what I mean?
Water from the fire hydrant?
Yeah, there's no other place to get water.
Kristen from New York tells CBN she's been homeless more than a decade. She lives in this tent with her dog in a vacant parking lot.
Feel safe here at night?
Sometimes.
Sometimes? But most of the time you don't?
No, most of the time I do, and sometimes I don't.
Despite a judge's order protecting encampments, a number of the Bay Area's tent cities have been torn down to reduce crime and clear streets. Now those people live in sidewalk dwellings or business and residential doorways.
Do you know this guy?
No, I don't know.
Excuse me?
Joseph Lala, a 20-year native, dodges the homeless outside his apartment, where they sleep, drink, and use drugs.
They moved in 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Did you ever request maybe that they don't live outside of your home?
Well, I don't get to see the landlord too often. He's really busy. He's in and out of here like that and everything. But now that you mention it, I'll probably look into that, see.
Over the last few years, at least 17 retailers have left the city's Union Square due to growing crime, including Nordstrom, Office Depot, and Old Navy.
A lot of businesses being closed, like Safeway, Whole Foods been closing because they have more thieves than customers.
Muhammad, a longtime bodega shop owner, is also thinking about leaving for his own safety.
Yesterday I was driving home right up Washington Street, and a young man tried to take my car.
Civil rights attorney Angela Alioto is a former president of San Francisco's Board of Supervisors. In 2004, then Mayor Gavin Newsom appointed Alioto to create a 10-year plan to abolish chronic homelessness.
You must admit we made bad decisions. We made bad policy. Undo it. Have the guts to stand up and undo it.
Since then, Alioto has supported several initiatives, including the city's sanctuary law and needle exchange program. Today, she believes they're outdated and plagued by corruption.
This is a $14 billion budget. When I ran for mayor in 2018, it was $5 billion. Okay, $2 billion is going to homelessness and homelessness-related issues. How is that not corrupt? How is 60% of that money not going in someone's pockets?
San Francisco's homeless population has jumped 6% since 2017. Last year alone, the city gave $1.4 billion to nonprofits working to solve the problem. Angela sees that money only making matters worse.
We have way too many nonprofits. I'm pretty controversial. I'll go as far as to say that some of them are not trying to help. Some of them have perpetuated a homeless industry that is killing us.
Rampant crime is another public health and safety issue. Some blame policies like Proposition 47, which considers theft under $1,000 a misdemeanor and made cars a prime target throughout the city.
Prop 47 needs to absolutely be undone. It is ridiculous. It gives license to people to steal.
All right, copy.
The police department also faces a catastrophic staffing shortage. The city supervisor proposing recruitment bonuses ahead of some 300 officers scheduled to retire.
We can stand by and we can preach and we can pray, and that's great for the congregation. But what's great for the world is putting that into service.
As the region suffers, City Team, one of thousands of nonprofits in the metro area, is stepping up.
What's going on, boss man?
They interact each day with the tragic nature of homelessness.
I had somebody overdose in my breakfast line for taking one hit off the pipe of fentanyl. Fortunately, we keep Narcan on hand, and we were able to resuscitate him.
In San Francisco and across the Bay in Oakland, City Team keeps hope alive as volunteers and staff serve thousands of meals each week while offering long-term housing and rehabilitation to those ready to make a change. Gabriel Flores used to live on the streets until City Team helped give him a second chance.
I never thought I would be drug-free, not drinking. I never thought that my life would lead here.
Today, he manages programs at City Team Oakland, thanks to the organization's practice of helping those who graduate from their program.
For me, I was homeless 20 years, so I had a lot of bad habits to overcome. But one of my most sacred ideals is to remember that everybody is a child of God, and they deserve love and respect.
The City Team Kitchen puts that ideal into action by providing a hot meal to anyone in need, no matter their situation or addiction.
I am homeless. Me and my daughter have been sleeping in my car.
What we do is the best solution, but that only works for the people who want it and are willing to go through the process.
Welcome to the most beautiful city in the world.
San Francisco recently launched a $6 million campaign to attract tourists and showcase the city in a bright light. But if money can't fix the city's problems, and nonprofits can only go so far, questions remain on how to solve these issues and save San Francisco.
A year from now, we could be sitting in a totally different, gorgeous city if people would do the right thing.
Reporting in the Bay Area, California, Brody Carter, CBN News.
Coming up, the countdown to a possible government shutdown. Will Congress be able to come together to work out a deal? And who would lose their paychecks if some government agencies do stop operating? We're going to bring you a look when we come back.
Your news channel, your shows, the stories you care about. Anytime you want, anywhere you want. Download the CBN News app today.
The clock is ticking in Washington, where the federal government is heading toward a possible shutdown. The issue is in the House of Representatives, where a number of Republicans are demanding federal spending cuts, while the Senate is trying to come up with a plan as well. CBN Washington correspondent Hillary Powell brings us a look at the timeline ahead of the deadline.
Lawmakers here on Capitol Hill only have until the weekend to come together to make sure that federal agencies are funded and to make sure that millions of people, including military families, don't receive a pause in their paychecks. These families are counting on Congress to reach a deal for funding before the start of the fiscal year on October 1st. In North Carolina's picturesque Blue Ridge Parkway, the next paycheck of 150 federal workers depends on congressional lawmakers.
I get annoyed that they can't just get along and compromise.
So do the federal workers who are set to be furloughed without pay if Congress fails to provide funding for the fiscal year starting October 1st. White House spokesperson Jean-Pierre says meeting the deadline is imperative, especially for families using WIC assistance.
We just heard the Secretary of Agriculture lay out what will happen to women and children, 7 million women and children who are part of the WIC program across the country. 7 million if this shutdown happens. And this is indeed a Republican shutdown.
Congress often relies on a so-called continuing resolution to provide money necessary to fund government offices while budget talks continue. Hardline Republicans are against any stopgap solution, threatening to keep the government shut down until Congress negotiates a dozen separate bills needed to fund the government, an effort that typically takes until December at the earliest. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says holdouts within his own party are starting to make concessions on spending.
So let's get this going. Let's make sure the government stays open while we finish doing our job, passing all the individual bills and getting this done.
Under a shutdown, affected areas include health programs, Social Security, and Medicare, among others. People applying for government services like clinical trials, firearm permits, and passports could also see delays. In 2018, the latest and longest government shutdown lasted 5 weeks under former President Donald Trump's administration. At the time, federal workers like Marilyn Carruthers resorted to paying monthly bills with credit cards.
Our mortgage, our gas, electric, trash, water bills.
Now, the president and members of Congress will continue to work and get paid in case of a shutdown, but like millions of people across the country, members of their staff who are deemed non-essential will also be furloughed. On Capitol Hill, Hillary Powell, CBN News.
According to the latest ABC News Washington Post poll, 40% say they would blame President Biden and Democrats in Congress for a shutdown, compared to 33% who say they would blame congressional Republicans. Now here's a look at some of the other stories we're following for you right now beyond the headlines. California Governor Gavin Newsom has vetoed a bill that would have required judges to consider whether parents supported their child's gender identity feelings when making decisions in custody court battles. The measure would have changed the California Family Code to allow courts to step in if a family disapproves of a child's transgender beliefs or plans for themselves. Police in the United Kingdom have dropped the charge against a woman who was arrested last March for a second time for praying silently in her head and within an abortion facility buffer zone. The police's decision not to prosecute comes after the UK Home Secretary published an open letter which directly spells out that silent prayer is not a crime. You can get more important details on these stories at cbnnews.com. Let's turn now overseas. At least 20 people are dead and more than 300 injured in a powerful station explosion today in Nagorno-Karabakh, which is located between Russia and Iran. The fuel depot blast coming as thousands of Armenians are on the run following Azerbaijan's rapid military takeover of the region. Armenians were among the first to accept Christianity. Now human rights experts are warning they could face another ethnic cleansing. CBN's George Thomas brings us this story.
Officials from Armenia and Azerbaijan are set to meet today in Brussels for the first time since Azerbaijan's Muslim-majority forces seized control of the predominantly Armenian Christian territory of Nagorno-Karabakh last week.
It was a nightmare. There are no words to describe. The village was heavily shelled. Almost no one is left in the village. Most people have been evacuated.
The Blitz attack forcing nearly 14,000 refugees to cross into Armenia, with thousands more stuck in massive traffic jams at the only checkpoint crossing. Amidst all this, a massive explosion at a fuel depot killed 20 and injured more than 300. As refugees scrambled to get gas before escaping. Joel Veldkamp is with the human rights group Christian Solidarity International.
Our friends there told us that people in Karabakh are deciding, some of them, to try to have the bodies of their loved ones who were killed in this war taken to Armenia in refrigerated cars to be buried there. Because if they bury them in Karabakh, they won't be able to visit them ever again, and their graves might be desecrated by Azerbaijani forces.
Nagorno-Karabakh is a landlocked region between Azerbaijan and Armenia.
This is an area of Armenia, Nagorno-Karabakh, that has been contested for many years. It has historically been filled with Armenians, Armenian cultures, the Christian faith.
While it's been internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan, the area has been ruled by ethnic Armenians for 3 decades. Armenia's prime minister telling reporters today that ethnic cleansing is underway in the region.
We received word yesterday from our friends in Nagorno-Karabakh that essentially deportations are beginning of the entire Armenian population of Nagorno-Karabakh.
Armenians are some of the first people in the world to embrace Christianity. Now there's concern their religious and ethnic history in Nagorno-Karabakh could be wiped out.
The population of ethnic Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh should be able to remain in their homes in peace and dignity with respect for their rights and security if they choose to do so. Those who want to leave and return should be allowed safe passage.
CBN contributor Chuck Holton, who has reported extensively from Armenia, warns Azerbaijan's ambitions don't stop at Nagorno-Karabakh's borders.
The real concern here is that Azerbaijan is not going to stop by just taking over this one exclave. They're literally talking about taking all of Armenia.
George Thomas, CBN News.
Still ahead, this psychiatrist tells CBN News the right diet can help lift depression and anxiety and make a lot of other mental health challenges more manageable. We're going to tell you what's on the menu right after this. When we feel depressed or anxious, sometimes we reach for comfort food like a hot fudge sundae or some chili cheese fries. But believe it or not, the foods that make us feel better in the moment may actually harm our mental health in the long run. On this week's Healthy Living show on the CBN News Channel, a psychiatrist explains why eating healthy can improve your mood.
There's been a lot of research in the gut microbiome and that gut-brain connection. But let me also point out that Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, mentioned this connection eons ago. So he hinted at it in things that he spoke about, but really the science and the research had to follow. That has occurred really in the last 2 decades. And understanding that gut-brain connection and more about the gut microbiome has helped us understand the food-mood connection. Now, what do I mean by that? The gut and the brain are 2 separate parts of the body, but they are connected by the vagus nerve, which allows for an anatomical connection and a 2-way text messaging system, transmitting messages around neurotransmitters, which are related to our mood and our mental health. But it goes beyond that. These 2 organ systems start from the exact same cells in the human embryo. And so they are, inextricably connected throughout our lives. And these 2 organs also are associated with the gut microbiome. You have trillions of microbes that live in the gut microbiome, and they take care of things like sleep and circadian rhythm, which is our internal body clock, immunity, 70% of our immune system is in the gut, hormone production, vitamin production, managing, infections, but also our mental well-being and more. So they are very active in terms of our well-being. So the science of the gut microbiome and a healthy gut actually leads to us having less anxiety and a healthy mood. And then there's research really showing us how the digestion process of food is impacting these microbes, how positive or negative breakdown substances are made in the gut by these little microbes that, if you're eating more of a fast food diet, and that's what you eat, well, the breakdown products are going to be more toxic. But if you're eating a healthier diet, for most of the time, you are going to be fending off inflammation and having healthy breakdown products of digestion in your gut. So that's just one way that we start to understand and uncover the science behind it. There's several mechanisms, and there's more research as well.
So you did mention pharmaceutical interventions and things to help treat various mental health issues. And are you suggesting replace a healthy diet or augmenting their prescriptions?
That's a great question. I would never suggest, eliminating or removing one form of treatment, because as a psychiatrist, I've seen that those can be very valuable and, in fact, life-saving to some individuals. So this is meant to really be an additional tool in your toolkit. So if you're taking a medication that your doctor is prescribing, you're engaging in psychotherapy that is helpful. Maybe you have a health coach and you're doing other things to help your mental well-being, like exercise or practicing prayer. A center of spirituality has been helpful to many individuals, or even have a mindfulness practice. All of those things count. Food and nutrition is a lifestyle factor. It's an easy thing because we eat several times a day. Why not we sort of improve how we're doing that to bolster and help our mental well-being. There are, Rory, also individuals who are not so severely depressed or anxious that they may not be on medication, and they may come to my practice to see me to actually engage in lifestyle measures like nutrition first. And there's a place for that too. So not everyone in my practice is taking a medication, but it's really meant to work together with whatever else you're doing.
And you can hear more about what specific foods can help or hinder your mental health tonight on Healthy Living. You can find it at 8:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel or on the CBN News app. You can also watch it on YouTube. Coming up, a special honor for a special woman as CBN's Terry Meeuwsen is recognized for her work in Christian ministry. We're going to bring you that story when we come back. Stay with us. A nationwide organization supporting women in ministry honored CBN's Terry Meeuwsen in Washington over the weekend. The group called She Leads America named Terry among its Christian women of distinction at their 2023 gala held at the Museum of the Bible, highlighting her role as the co-host of the 700 Club and her leadership in protecting children worldwide through the ministry she founded, CBN's Orphans Promise. In a video, Terry encouraged those in attendance to keep up the good fight.
Let's commit to pray without ceasing. Our country's at a crossroads, and prayer really does change things. I believe there's a wave of fresh vision and fresh anointing coming. So let's let him fill up our cups and then lift our lanterns high, my sisters, because the best is yet to come.
Other honorees at the event included Oklahoma pastor Sharon Doherty and Dove Award-winning singer Jackie Velasquez. Time now for your Tuesday Tweetable. With that, I'd like to share a message of hope for you to post, tag, tweet, and share with those in your circles of influence. The eyes in your head can't see all there is to see. You must see with the eyes of faith. See beyond fear, see beyond frustration, see beyond foolishness. They can be blinding to the physical eye, but the eyes of faith sees as God sees. It is why we walk by faith and not by sight. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there anytime, as well as online at cbnnews.com. Thank you so much for watching. We look forward to seeing you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.